They happened to just get out that sliding door. The next thing we knew, it was quiet.
Ever since the Friday morning, when we noticed that the children were gone.
Go back into the woods.
In the spring of 2025, in the Maritime of Canada, two siblings would wander off from their home in the early hours of the day. After thousands of hours of searching, no signs of the children were found, leading to people wondering, did the children wander off on their own, or did something else happen in those rural woods?
Still no answers.
9 years ago today.
What happened to these two young children?
Remains a mystery.
Urgent story unfolding right now. Who is missing? An unsolved murder.
The children's mother, 27-year-old Malaya Brooks Murray, was born to her father, Henry Brooks, and mother, Cindy Murray, and is a member of the Speakanakti First Nation, which is a multi-generational Mi'kmaq community of nearly 3,000 members in Nova Scotia. She had her status card, but she would not raise her children on the reserve, and they did not have status. This is important to note because the community would later be very involved in providing legal services and supporting Malaya. The children's father's name is Cody Sullivan. He was born to his mother, Belinda Gray, but not much else is known about him. What we do know is that on March 22nd of 2019, Lilly Mae Sullivan was born. Lilly was described as being full of life and into everything. She was truly a girly girl. When she'd visit her paternal grandmother, Belinda, she often wanted to copy her style, so she was given a hat and a pair of glasses with the lenses missing, so that she could play dress-up. Lilly also loved dolls, stuffed animals, and loved to pose in a proper way. From the outside, she was a normal little girl who liked to play pretend and live in a dream world with her toys. Lilly's brother, Jack William James Sullivan, was born a year later on October 29th of 2020. Jack was described as kind of the opposite of his sister. He was quiet, shy, and reserved. He'd still play with stuffed animals, and particularly loved a horse toy that was at his grandmother's home. He also loved bugs, dinosaurs, and being with his big sister. Lilly and Jack were said to be best friends. At the time, family described Malaya as everything a grandmother could want for a mum. She breezed through motherhood as if it was her God-given gift, even described as an excellent mum that didn't raise her voice and had plenty of patience. But after 3.5 years, Cody and Malaya would separate around 2022. It wasn't a good separation according to family, and Cody decided to distance himself from the children. This all had come to fruition after Malaya started telling family that they were having problems and they weren't happy, so she was going to leave. The rest of Cody's family didn't agree with his choice not to be part of his children's lives, but it was his choice to make. His mother, however, was still wanting to be in the children's lives, and Malaya knew the door was always open to her and the kids. During this period of time, Malaya was living with her grandmother in Truro, and was still visiting back and forth with Cody's family, who often stopped by to give the kids birthday gifts. Some point after this, Malaya met 34-year-old Daniel Martell, who previously attended Northumberland Regional High School and currently worked at a local hardwood mill. Due to the mill having a hard time getting wood in, Daniel only worked once a week on Mondays. When he wasn't working, he would often help his mother with building the fences around her property and bringing in wood for her because they used wood heat. He also had 2 children from a previous relationship, a boy and a girl. This was a relationship that Malaya told Cody's mother about, who was supportive and wanted her to be happy for the kids. But this is when things were said to change with Malaya. She began distancing herself and told them that it bothered Daniel when she visited Cody's family, and he assumed she was doing it so that she could run into Cody, insinuating that Daniel was jealous. The family told her that Daniel was welcome to come to visit too, but after this, the children and Malaya stopped visiting. In 2023, Malaya became pregnant with Daniel's child. From there, Lilly, Jack, and Malaya moved in with Daniel on his mother Janie's property, a ran-down trailer located along Gairloch Road in Lansdowne Station. Lansdowne is a hamlet in Pictou County with a population of only 100 people. It's extremely rural, a dead zone for cell service, and surrounded by endless spruce forests, with deadfalls, bramble bushes, and bogs full of mosquitoes and black flies. Located about 32 kilometers from New Glasgow and 64 kilometers from Truro, it was once a busy railway stop bustling with Scottish immigrants who dug iron and copper mines deep into the hillsides. Today, the mine shafts sit empty and abandoned, and a single train travels through the area per day. The area is compared to the Appalachian region of America, once a bustling, prosperous countryside, now economically stagnant. Janie Mackenzie's property was located in an area spotted with homes, and extremely rural, with kilometers of rough wooded area surrounding the home that the family would move into. The property the family was now living on has been described as cluttered and chaotic. The children were too lively for Janie, causing her to move into a camper beside the home, fenced into a chicken coop that the children often played next to. Tarps were strung along the fences and underneath the trailer to protect it from the elements. Holes were worn in the floor of the front stoop. Inside of the mobile home, a large wood stove filled up most of the living room, where Lilly played with her dolls and stuffed animals. The kids' artwork was taped on the kitchen wall, next to the sliding patio door that led to a yard where the chicken coop was housed along with a playground set and shed. While in the yard, Jack would often be found turning over rocks and pieces of wood to search for bugs and worms. Outside the fenced areas, the kids would often play over a steep embankment where a small fort was built under the spruce trees.
Family members walked me through into that wooded area directly adjacent to where they live, maybe 20-second walk from the home into the woods. And as you walk into the woods, there's a little, kind of a tree fort, a little lean-to, and that's where the kids would play. And the family around there say they find it very hard to believe that, given how thick the brush is on some of the steep banks around that area, and just the difficulty moving around if you sort of leave that trail, how difficult they find it to believe that they could have gone anywhere deeper than that into the woods.
On December 5th of 2023, baby Meadow would be born. During the school season, Lilly and Jack stood by the side of the road out front of their home to take a local school bus the 20-minute drive to attend Salt Springs Elementary. The siblings were said to always be strapped in at the front of the bus next to each other. April 29th of 2025 was the last day that 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan attended Salt Springs Elementary School. There was no school on April 30th. The whole family left the house at 12:51 p.m. and went to the Irving Oil in Westville, where they got $20 worth of fuel. They then drove to Malaya's grandmother's home and arrived at 2:01 p.m. Jack, Lilly, their baby sister Meadow, Daniel, and Malaya went over to her grandmother's home to do some laundry. More than an hour later, Malaya took Meadow with her to get a new license plate for her car, while Daniel stayed at her grandmother's home with Jack and Lilly. According to documents, they went to Ultramar in Millbrook to get gas, a reservation just south of Truro. I think it's important to note that the Ultramar hasn't existed in Millbrook for at least 4 years, according to Google Maps, and is now a Shell gas station. It is possible, though, that locals still call it the Ultramar. And she stopped to get a vape for Daniel at High Grade. The entire family then went for groceries and would arrive home at 10:19 p.m. May 1st, both Lilly and Jack were home from school due to alleged coughs. Malaya contacted the school through the app at 6:18 a.m. The kids got up and came into Malaya and Daniel's bedroom, and Meadow was already up and in bed with Malaya. They got up and headed out to get the kids breakfast. They wanted the TV on, and they wanted to play with their toys. Everyone woke up around 9 a.m. Malaya noted that she scrolled on her phone at one point that day because she was overstimulated. Everyone woke up that day around 9 a.m. The kids played and watched television as Malaya made the children breakfast and then began to tidy the home. Around noon, Malaya, Jack, Lilly, Meadow, and Daniel drove to New Glasgow in Malaya's 2017 white Nissan Pathfinder. They're said to stop for gas at the Big Stop and might have gotten the kids bagels at Tim Hortons and went to a Starbucks drive-thru. Malaya said they also visited a Dollarama, which would later be verified independently that the children were alive and well around 2:25 p.m. that day near the Dollarama. Daniel's coworker, Edmund Dixon, ended up running into him in the parking lot. The two had a conversation for about 5 minutes and discussed enjoying their time off work. He also noted seeing Daniel's girlfriend and their baby. He saw other people inside the vehicle and heard children's voices, but did not see who was actually in the back seat. There, they purchased items using Daniel's bank card before going to a pharmacy called Lawton's to pick up some Tylenol and diaper rash cream for Meadow because she was teething. Daniel also said they stopped at Acropole Pub and Grill to pick up a poutine. Daniel claims to have spent the evening working on a fence in the backyard. Nothing was said to be out of the ordinary, but he could not recall what time everybody went to bed. At some point in that day or evening as well, his mother Janie was working on evening out some dirt where they could eventually put a pool. Later that evening, Malaya said she was going to do some cleaning, but she was too tired, and the kids were watching a show on TV. At 9 p.m., the children brushed their teeth and got ready for bed. It's also noted this was 2 hours later than normal. The children normally went to bed around 7 p.m. The kids also wore the same outfits to bed that they had worn during the day. Lilly wearing a pink sweater, pink pajamas with white shapes, a Barbie top and pink socks. Jack was wearing black sweatpants, a t-shirt and diaper. Malaya told police that she was too tired to unpack the clean laundry she'd done at her grandmother's the previous night. The kids were then put to bed around 10 p.m. Jack was put to bed with his blanket and dinosaur, and Lilly was put to bed with her cream-colored corduroy backpack with strawberries on it. Malaya shut the children's bedroom door, and then she went to bed with Meadow. So to note, the children went to bed with the same clothing they'd worn that day, but this was also the clothing that they would later go missing in. Daniel would stay up later than the rest of the family, although it's not noted what he was doing that evening or what time he eventually went to bed. Daniel was meant to clean the trailer that night, but in the morning it wasn't clean, so it's unknown what he did. Malaya noted, though, that she didn't wake up throughout the night and she's unsure what time Daniel actually came to bed. In a tip later reported by a neighbor named Brad Wong, his home was located at an elevated position from Janie McKenzie's property. Due to this, he could see vehicle lights through the treetops from his home up the hill, and described a loud vehicle coming and going from the area of the property into the early hours of the morning of May 2nd. He told authorities that the same loud 5-speed car stopped and returned multiple times and remained in earshot the entire time from midnight to 5 a.m., which was now May 2nd. Brad believed that the vehicle belonged to Daniel. Daniel would later dispute this claim, saying that his vehicle never left the property that night or the following day. The vehicle that had been being used by the family was Malaya's, and hers was not a loud vehicle. Another area resident named Justin Smith told authorities that at 1:30 a.m., he heard a car on Highway 289, which runs past Jack and Lily's home. This vehicle then turned around by the railway tracks near the area of Garlock Road and Lansdowne Station Road. The vehicle stopped making noise for a few minutes, then headed on towards Lairg Road. But according to investigators with the RCMP, they have said, quote, investigators conducted a thorough review of surveillance footage from the Garlock Road area during the early hours of May 2nd and found no evidence of any vehicle activity at the time. As such, no driver has been identified, and the presence of a vehicle has not been substantiated as a key element in the investigation. End quote. Essentially, authorities were unable to prove that there was a vehicle in that area. Now, I'm unsure if that's because they collected video footage and it doesn't show a vehicle, or if the video footage they collected doesn't show the areas of interest. But since it can't be verified, authorities can't do much at this point with that information. But both Daniel and Malaya deny hearing any vehicles coming or going from their property that night. At 6 a.m., Daniel's mother, Janie, who lived in the camper northeast of the family trailer, got up and made some morning tea and scrolled on Facebook. Around 6:15 a.m., Malaya would report both Jack and Lily absent from school due to Lily having a cough. The yellow school bus would later drive past the Garlock Road property for the second time in a row without stopping. At 7 a.m., Janie left her trailer to feed her chickens in the coop next to the yard, and her brother Ron called her at 8:48 a.m., asking if she wanted to go to town with him. She declined, stating she wanted to go for a nap. Now, I've seen some people online say that it is odd that Janie had just gotten up a few hours earlier and then she wanted to go for a nap after doing some yard work and, being up for a few hours. But I don't find it that odd. I have experience with, my grandparents, and they often get up, do some stuff in the morning, and then go for an early afternoon nap. Around this time at 8:28 a.m., Malaya would call her mother Cindy, but Cindy did not answer as she had left her phone in the house and she was in the barn. At some point in that morning, Daniel claims that he saw Lily popping in and out of their bedroom doorway, which was located at the back of the trailer. But Jack was last physically seen the night before. Despite this, they claim they did hear Jack playing in the next room. The kitchen has also been noted as a room they may have been playing or a bedroom. According to Malaya, the children laughing in the next room is what woke up Meadow, who was sleeping in a crib in their bedroom. This was said to happen around 8 a.m. She ended up getting Meadow out of the crib, bringing her to her bed, turning on the TV, and then drifting in and out of sleep. During this time, Janie claims that she was woken up by her dog barking and the children playing outside on their playground. As you can see, their playset is right by her trailer, which would make sense if they were outside that they could wake her up or alert the dog. Janie would then fall back asleep. Around 9:40 a.m. is when Daniel and Malaya claimed they fully woke up again. And this is when they no longer heard the kids and they grew concerned. Malaya described the situation in different interviews, saying, quote, "We get up and I tell my partner Daniel, 'Do you hear the kids?' And he says no. He put a wrench on the top of the door the night before, and it didn't fall down. So Daniel said they must have gone out the back sliding door. Instantly, we're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them." End quote. Daniel confirmed putting this wrench on the back door because there was a bear hanging around the property, so he put it up there, and guess to alert them in case the bear tried to come in the door, which tells me that possibly the door didn't lock. That's what I'm wondering, why you would put a wrench on top of a door instead of just locking it then, or he was scared the bear was going to unlock the door. I don't understand. But that wrench being on that back door is the reasoning that they believe that the children went out the sliding door. And they have pressed the sliding door is quite silent. Their bedroom also was at the back of the trailer, so if the children did go out the sliding door and they were asleep, they may not have heard them. According to Janie, she woke up sometime after Malaya and Daniel to Daniel outside yelling the children's names. She didn't wake up right away though, because she just assumed Daniel was yelling for the kids to come inside the house. Daniel claims to have driven around the area, surveying all the culverts and dirt roads in the area that he could for the children before returning back to the property and going out on foot until authorities arrived. From statements made, he was checking every stream and river, going into water that was waist deep. The brush was thick and the terrain rough and sometimes elevated, which was not easy for children to wander through, let alone a little boy in a diaper and pants. While Daniel was out searching, Janie finally got up and got out of her trailer to find Malaya standing by the steep bank near the woods with Meadow on her hip. She asked her what was going on, and Malaya told her that Lilly and Jack had been missing for around 20 minutes at that point. So Janie put her boots on and went to check the area in the woods where the kids often played. This was the area that they had their fort in, but there was no sign of them there. Janie also noted that due to the thick brush in the woods, she often had to carry Jack in the woods because he was too dense for a little boy to get through. While going through the woods, Janie would eventually run into Daniel as he was on this dirt road that was out back in the woods, and he would ask her if she wanted to go with him, but she declined, saying she wanted to search that area of the woods. Malaya then called her mother, who came to the house. When her mother arrived, Malaya talked to her and said, "I told you they had autism." Family members then started to show up. One of her brothers went to get an ATV, and they continued searching. At approximately 10 a.m., Malaya would call 911, authorities arriving not long after at 10:27 a.m. As I said, authorities arrived on scene quite quickly, and this is when one of the most widely talked about Canadian missing children's cases would commence. Daniel would tell the media and authorities that while searching the woods, he thought he heard a scream that sounded like Jack and Lilly, but when he stopped to listen, a helicopter overhead drowned out all other sounds. Again, he went into waist-deep water searching. In some clips, he states he was moving faster than the police helicopters.
I'm out here still searching, still fighting to try to find them. That's all I can do.
The message is still, if anyone knows anything?
If anybody knows anything, just come forward as soon as possible. 2 little kids are still out there. I want to find them. That's really all I can do. Still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else, and dogs and searchers. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be coordinated, and I can't just go running through the woods. I want to, but I just can't right now because the search is just so far out. We were searching. We covered everywhere possible. Even in the first day, we did. Even with me running through the woods, I was ahead of the helicopters and ahead of the drones and stuff like that. Screaming as loud as I can, and just until my throat hurt. Running through water that was up to my waist. And as soon as I got back, I wasn't allowed back in the woods until a man dressed in military outfit said I could go back into the woods. I hate being wet and cold, so they immediately would have came right back into the house. The only 2 prints are right beside the house facing the road, and then that's it. Post any officers they can get at the New Brunswick border. PI border, and get them at every airport possible. Anybody who has any information, or you think you've seen something or hear something, or any messages from friends about hearing something, just contact your local local police services, anything, guys. Very stressful. I mean, ever since the Friday morning, when we noticed that the children were gone, immediately jumped in the vehicle, surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts as I could, and waited for the police to get there. Lilly and Jack are awesome kids, very, very kind. They'll talk to anyone. They want to go with anyone. They're just looking to have as much fun as they can. Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, and anything like that. But Lilly loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack, bugs. They're like best friends, not just brother and sister. I'm still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any of her belongings at all. They just haven't found anything.
Malaya also spoke to the media one and only time, which I'll play that clip for you now.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them, and they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens, and they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time, and the next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store, everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because we just want them found. We want them home. Everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have issues with school, and they don't catch up with the other kids. I just want to remain hopeful. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst. Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
Now keep in mind, the children were last described to be wearing outfits that would not have matched the weather outside. Lilly was last said to be wearing a pink sweatshirt, Barbie written in silver metallic letters across the front. Her PJ bottoms were light pink with small, light-colored shapes. She also had her pink rain boots with rainbows on them and a white corduroy backpack with strawberries on it that they often used for sleepovers. Jack is thought to last be wearing black Under Armour brand pants, a pull-up diaper, and dark blue rain boots with dinosaurs printed. Jack is not noted to be wearing a shirt. However, when you do check the weather report for that day, it was said to have a high of 10 degrees Celsius and a low of 1 degree Celsius. These two kids going outside to play in those outfits in 10-degree weather would not be warm enough. They would be cold going outside to play like that, let alone to go wander off into the woods dressed like that. And that's something that always struck me as odd with this case. Also keep in mind, Daniel said in one of his interviews that the kids would have come back if they were cold.
They hate being wet and cold, so they immediately would have came right back into the house.
And I doubt the high of 10 degrees Celsius was at, 8, 9 a.m. in the morning when the children disappeared. Why would a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old decide to go play in the woods, Jack especially only wearing a diaper, light pants, and rain boots? Just think about how scratched up he would get just trying to walk through that brush. According to the affidavits released, Daniel's mother, Janie, was also concerned about the timeline being brought forward, saying, quote, there was no way the kids could have walked from the yard up to the road where Daniel was in the vehicle without her seeing them. Janie said when the kids were in the yard, she usually watched them the most, end quote. Janie also told authorities that Malaya and Daniel were having financial difficulties. She also noted that Jack would not go for a walk on his own, saying she, Jack, Lilly, and Daniel often went for walks in the woods, and they had to carry Jack sometimes because he got tired and would just sit in one place. Janie said she does not believe the kids are in the woods. According to professional searchers who were on the scene, it was also very uncommon for 2 children to go missing together in the woods. Nonetheless, searchers took to the dense forest, even looking in mine shafts and wells found along the way. A drone was flown into one mine shaft that wasn't safe for searchers to enter. Over 12,000 hours was put into the initial searches, which is unheard of. The effort put into finding these kids, as you will see, was extensive. 8.5 square kilometers of dense woods and terrain around the home were searched, covering a total area of 40 kilometers. Teams specially trained in detecting human remains searched at the property from which the children went missing, along the pipeline and intersecting trails. Later that day, carloads of family members arrived to help search, but eventually, both Daniel and Malaya's families began to turn on each other. This fight was described to have happened in the doorway of the trailer when Malaya's family began accusing Daniel that he must have had something to do with the children going missing due to drug use in the home. Eventually, Janie would order some of Malaya's family members off of her property. Now, Daniel has actually been very honest about his history of substance abuse, specifically meth, but he claimed to not be an addict. He said that he asked the RCMP as well as Child Protective Services to drug test him, but they declined. He's also recently started attending Narcotics Anonymous meetings 3 times a week, and was also taking online courses in anger management, depression, parenting, child protection, substance abuse, unaliving, and violent behavior that are recognized by child protection officials. And he was doing this in an attempt to clear his name for CPS. Into the night of May 3rd and early hours of the morning, authorities began knocking on the doors in the area. They eventually came to the property of Daniel's father, Earl Martell.
You sure can. What are you doing? Put your camera down, bud. Be a man. Be a man.
Tell me, what can I help you?
Are you the one that stole them kids?
Me?
What are you doing here?
Are you?
What are you doing here?
Are you?
Are you in here?
Are you?
What are you doing here?
Are you?
You're a idiot. Another one of them YouTubers, are you?
Is there anything wrong that I park my car in here?
You're not parking, you being an idiot.
For what?
You can YouTube all you want. You low-life little
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
You can smile because you got a camera there.
Calm
You're
down.
taking my picture.
Calm
I don't
down.
have to calm down.
Who hurt you?
You're the one that...
Who hurt you?
You.
Who hurt you?
You.
Keep crying. Keep crying, man.
Hate you, YouTubers.
I'm not YouTuber.
Then what are you doing here?
I'm here looking for it. What are you doing?
Why you
Bullshit.
take pictures of me then?
Because you took a picture of me first.
I live here.
So what? I can't come here to help? What the wrong with you, man?
What's wrong with you?
Walk away, little
Earl is a retired tire plant worker who lives atop a hill in a bungalow he built himself 40 years ago. The property consisted of a cluttered cabin and old campers. Officers would use their flashlights to search the home, finding craft supplies and Hot Wheels of Daniel's 2 school-aged biological children, who often visited on weekends. Earl would guide the police into the yard, 2 old campers, and a derelict log cabin filled with junk, as well as Daniel's older model black sedan, in needs of repair he couldn't afford. Authorities were also sent out to find Jack and Lily's biological father, Cody. At 12:45 a.m. on May 3rd, Malaya called the RCMP to report that the children's biological father, Cody, might have picked them up and taken them to New Brunswick. Daniel said he had no clue that Malaya had called the authorities that late at night, stating, quote, I was so exhausted on the night of May 2nd, I went to bed. I still remember that I sat on the bed, I gave Malaya a hug and everything, and then I literally passed out cold because I was so tired from searching all day. I fell asleep at 9:09 p.m. So you'd think she would have told me the next day, but nothing." End quote. Malaya would tell police she was awake for most of the first night her children were gone. She slept between 3 a.m. and 6 a.m. Due to this, the RCMP would show up at Belinda's home at 2:50 a.m. in Middle Musquodoboit, located about half an hour from Lansdowne. Now, as I said earlier, there isn't much we know about Cody. I honestly couldn't even find a photo of him. From what we do know, Cody had lost a roofing job and moved in with his mother Belinda and had been living at her home for around 9 months at the point of his children's disappearance. But it would turn out that Cody hadn't seen his children for around 3 years. When him and Malaya separated, she had filed for full custody, as I had mentioned earlier, and he didn't fight for it. He just gave them up to her. From then on, he wasn't involved in his children's lives anymore. However, his mother Belinda still had been involved, but at the point when the children disappeared, she hadn't seen them for 1 year and 9 months. Over the coming days, authorities returned to Belinda's home to interrogate Cody 2 more times, as well as take photos of his vehicle and other vehicles on the property. And there's been a lot of talk as to why Belinda wasn't involved in the children's lives, why she didn't know where they lived, why she didn't do anything, considering kind of the state of the property and the allegations of what was going on there. And I can understand it. They weren't her children. Malaya disappeared with them, was basically staying on this property with Daniel. She wouldn't tell Belinda the address because Daniel seemed to be jealous. So according to her, it wouldn't be until she showed up to help search that she would finally see the living conditions where her grandchildren had been living and staying. And she has been appalled by the state of the property and the home where her grandchildren were living. 36 hours after the children disappeared, Belinda was still aiding in the searches, and she even considered sleeping in her car so that she could immediately get back up and keep searching. But the thing was, Daniel was there at the property. Obviously, it was his mother's property, but Malaya wasn't there helping with the searches. And when Belinda learned that Malaya wasn't there helping search, she said that to her, that meant that Malaya knew that the children weren't coming back. On May 3rd, Malaya would write on Facebook, quote, "I want an Amber Alert for my children. I want my babies home. My children are not shy to strangers and will go home with anyone. They don't understand stranger danger. At this point, they have been taken. Please send an Amber Alert now." End quote. Many would argue that it was odd that in a public announcement like that, you would essentially tell everyone that your children were not scared of strangers and that essentially anyone could just pick them up and take them. And I agree, it's probably not the safest thing to put out there into the world. And Daniel would echo a similar belief that the children may have been abducted, stating, quote, "I asked them to go to every airport, all the airports, and intake for different provinces, PEI in New Brunswick. Because they're undiagnosed autistic, they will go with anybody. As long as you offer them food or water, say, 'I'll take you home to mom and dad,' and they'll immediately get with them." End quote. Again, very odd statement to make, saying that anyone could just, basically offer the kids some water and kidnap them. As we know, Daniel and Malaya would quickly separate, and there was tension among both of the families. This all seemed to take place when Daniel and Malaya attended a search and rescue briefing that was taking place on Lansdowne Road, which is where the search and rescue headquarters had been set up. It's noted that during the briefing, Malaya left to sit in the back of an ambulance where she was sobbing uncontrollably with her mother Cindy. Daniel's family wanted Malaya to bring the baby and stay with them, but she thought the correct decision was to stay with her mother. Daniel pleaded with Malaya to speak to her alone, but her mother stepped in front of him, causing him to lash out and say, quote, "Cindy, get the fuck out of here." End quote. Meadow was then strapped into Cindy's car, Daniel saying "I love you" through the rolled up back window as the women sped off. This is the last time that Daniel and Malaya were together, and after this, they essentially broke up. Shockingly, not long after this, Malaya would block Daniel on Facebook and would change her relationship status to single. According to her grandmother, Connie Brooks, Malaya had confided in her, describing how Daniel would hold her down and take her phone. Connie saying, quote, "He was having her, I don't know what you call it, scared. She couldn't go anywhere, do anything. That's what she told me, and that's what I told the detectives." End quote. When she asked her granddaughter about drug use in the home, Malaya allegedly told her that Daniel concealed a drug addiction for nearly the first year of their relationship. Despite these allegations, Malaya would tell authorities when interviewed, quote, "He is an involved parent and would help her especially when she was overwhelmed. He was not aggressive with the kids, but had a voice they listened to. There was never any physical discipline." End quote. So that's how we got Daniel at the Gairloch Road property doing multiple interviews with no Malaya in sight. From what it seems, she moved in with family, lawyered up, and she hasn't really spoken much. During an interview following this situation, he was upset and said, quote, "I've been the only one here for them. She can't control them, only I can. They act out whenever she's there. She always gets me to calm them down, or get them to stop fighting, or feed them, or get them up, or put them to bed every night. She was asking me to do everything. It just breaks my heart not to ever see everybody." End quote. Two interesting pieces of evidence would end up being found near the property early on in the search. Near where Justin Smith reported hearing a vehicle turn around near the railroad tracks, a piece of Lily's pink blanket would be found in a tree by Malaya's sister Haley Ferdinand and two other family members. When it was found, Daniel suggested it wasn't Lily's blanket, but Malaya suggested it was. After this, Daniel accused those who found it of planting it. Haley denied planting the blanket and said that Daniel didn't like her or that side of the family, stating that he avoided them during the searches. Interestingly, scent dogs were unable to find any scent anywhere near where that blanket was found. There have been some pieces of evidence that were discovered near the property early on in the searches. The piece of blanket was sent for forensic testing, however, it's unclear what the results may be. Now, 2 clumps of boot prints in 2 different sizes were also found in the area where that piece of blanket was found. But I've also seen stated that the boot prints were found near the pipeline, and one matched a child-sized print. This boot print would be confirmed to match Lily's size 11 boots that she was alleged to be wearing when she disappeared. A child's sock was also found, although I'm not sure where exactly it was found. Let me know down below if you know. On top of all of this, inside of a trash bag and a trash bin that was located at the end of the property's driveway, a blanket belonging to Lilly was found that matched the piece of blanket that was found a kilometer away.
Malaya would tell police that the blanket found was Lily's LOL doll blanket that she had sometimes dragged around with her, but she had decided she no longer wanted. Daniel had been using it to stop the draft around the door. The documents reading, quote, "Malaya took the blanket from the door because the weather was getting nicer about a week before and she threw it in the garbage. There was already a piece missing from it when she did that because Daniel ripped it off when he put it up." End quote.
Other seizures included indent impression castings, typically used to gather casts of boot prints or tire marks. They also collected scat, which authorities said could either be animal or human. In the following days, authorities delved into collecting even more evidence and data, and all of this information would later be revealed in affidavits that the media would get via FOIA requests. This information included GPS tracking data, communication, and other records from Daniel and Malaya's cell phones, video records from the school buses operating in the area of the children's home, electronic records from companies in Montreal, Toronto, and Halifax whose names and purposes were redacted, bank records from both Daniel and Malaya, text plus messages from May 1st and 2nd of 3 redacted phone numbers, as well as closed-circuit TV footage from a redacted location. The documents also showed that authorities were requesting video footage from the Cobequid Pass from a toll plaza at the Trans-Canada Highway in Nova Scotia between May 1st at 2:25 p.m. and May 3rd at 3 a.m. The children's toothbrushes were also collected from the home. Now, these text plus records that were brought up were most likely from Malaya, and this is because she told police in a statement that she used Text Plus to call her mother and her grandmother after her children disappeared because it allowed her to make phone calls using Wi-Fi. She later deleted the app when she didn't need it anymore, which is suspicious when you're using an app to call and text people right after your children disappear, and then you're also immediately deleting it. I don't think it's specifically odd that she's using an app to contact people because I use like Facebook Messenger, stuff like that, to talk to my in-laws, my husband. But the fact that she used it and then deleted it, that is a little bit suspicious. That's why people are questioning it. On May 12th, both Daniel and Malaya were polygraphed by authorities in Bible Hill, Nova Scotia. Both of their test results came back indicating that they were being truthful. In a later released affidavit, an unidentified detective would state, quote, "At this point in the investigation, Jack and Lily's disappearance is not believed to be criminal in nature. I do not have reasonable grounds to believe a criminal offense has occurred. Because Jack and Lilly are still missing, polygraph examinations were conducted with the intention of ruling out that possibility." End quote. Both Cindy Murray, who is Malaya's mother, and Cindy's boyfriend, Wade Paris, underwent polygraphs and they also both passed. The children's father, Cody, is also said to pass. But when it comes to Daniel's mother, Janie, her test was said to be ineffective. Malaya would also provide police with claimed evidence. on a SanDisk Cruiser Glide USB, which contained a phone conversation between her grandmother Patty Pearson and Pearson's relative Darren Geddes that took place on June 21st of 2025. According to the document, Geddes claimed to know information about the disappearance of Lilly and Jack and had suggested in social media postings that Malaya may have been involved in their disappearance. However, it stressed that this is his theory. The documents also say that Darren suggested that he may know where the children are located. So the police would end up talking to him about this, but they've said that he didn't provide any context as to why he has this theory. Darren also spoke to authorities on May 30th. But during this conversation, he became confrontational and invasive when they were asking him questions, instead asking authorities to provide him with answers to questions. And when his questions weren't answered, he became upset. Darren would also allegedly be interviewed on It's a Crime and Shame. That's a true crime YouTube channel, and he would allegedly go under the alias Durwood O'Grady, where he would speak about his speculations. Over the last few months, authorities have received hundreds of tips from the public, including a report that was highlighted in the affidavit from a witness who told the RCMP that she spotted two children walking along the road not far from the home of Jack and Lilly on the morning of their disappearance. Natasha Haywood, who filed her report on May 31st, described seeing a young girl holding a young boy's hand, and they were walking towards a Caucasian woman around 50 to 60 years old with a loose curl haircut, waiting with the rear door open of an older model tan or gold sedan. She described the boy as having dirty blonde hair and wearing shorts, where the girl had darkish hair with pigtails and was wearing a tank top with blue strings. Authorities were working to determine if this witness did see Jack and Lilly. What I found very interesting is on a podcast called The Decibel, which was created by the Globe and Mail newsroom. It was uncovered that prior to the children disappearing, CPS had been contacted with concerns of how the children were showing up at school, although the exact context or reasoning for these reports was unknown. Due to this report, CPS workers would be dispatched to go to the Gairloch Road home to speak with Daniel and Malaya. A photo of Jack from December 13th of 2024 would be discovered on the school's Facebook page, showing him with what looks like a black eye. When Daniel was asked how Jack received the black eye, he didn't respond to interviewers. They claimed, though, in private messages that Jack often had black eyes. So did Lilly, and that the kids had them when they disappeared. In an incident alleged to have happened on May 1st, Lilly had received a black eye after a Tonka truck hit her in the face. All of this was said on the same podcast, which I want to believe would more so be truthful and factual because this podcast was created by an actual news media organization. So I'm hoping that they did vet their information and their sources. Belinda has also been very outspoken about wanting to lift the veil of the secrecy surrounding the government's involvement in the home life of her grandchildren prior to their disappearance. She wants to know what they ended up finding, what the evidence was, what was the reasoning for them being called in, what was actually happening at that home, what were the concerns, and also what were the findings. Belinda saying, quote, "I think the public has a right to know. Just what did CPS do? What part were they investigating? What were their concerns and what were they doing? They might even have answers for the investigation on what happened to them or why it might have happened to them. I'd like to know what the school has stated. Was it just some bruises they saw in Jack? Are there other things? Is there anything concerning Lilly? I would like to know." End quote. According to Daniel, the CPS workers didn't come to their home with concerns about the children's well-beings, but instead about their learning disabilities. He also claimed that photos that were spread online of Jack with bruises on his face were caused by Lilly. These photos are not the same photo as the school photo that has been found on Facebook. But when it comes to Malaya, she has declined to speak about any of this. Interestingly, the same day the kids vanished, redacted affidavits show that a manager at Nova Scotia's CPS wrote an internal memo about the kids for senior government bureaucrats. That document was shared all the way up to the Deputy Minister for Community Services, Craig Beaton. By May 20th, the same manager produced another, longer memo about the children that was also shared with her bosses. What was written in these memos, however, is unknown due to them being redacted. And this isn't just an issue at CPS in Nova Scotia. CPS has dropped the ball all over North America. There are far too many cases where children have died or nearly died or were extremely neglected due to CPS dropping the ball, or with them allegedly having their hands tied. And far too often, nothing happens. Not long after the children's disappearances, Meadow would be taken into protective custody, and Daniel would have to partake in supervised visits in order to see his daughter. It's unclear if Malaya has to as well, although I have seen rumors that she also does not have Meadow in her custody at the moment. Let me know down below if that is correct or incorrect. Search dogs were brought back to the Garlock Road property on the week of September 22nd, where they reinvestigated the land, home, and vehicles. Nothing of note came from the search that is known to the public. A point was made by authorities when interviewed that the dogs did not pick up the scent of human remains on the property or near the boot print or where the blanket was found, or in the nearby wooded trails. It is stated, though, that dogs could have missed the scent possibly, maybe not been taken to a certain area where there may have been a scent. This is important to talk about, though, because if the children did wander off into those woods, they would have passed on by now due to the elements possibly. And so if they are out there, the dogs should pick up their scent, yet the dogs aren't picking up any scent. It was during this search that one of the dog handlers questioned and accused Daniel of being involved, and this really upset him. Authorities essentially declined to speak on this interaction, saying that there's no rules that the dog handlers can't speak to people on scene. On September 27th, Belinda would take to Facebook, writing, quote, "For 149 days, Jack and Lilly have been missing. I don't know if they've been harmed or taken. I don't know they are missing. Only the people on that property have those answers, and they were the ones who were responsible for the welfare of Jack and Lilly. These children disappeared off that property under their watch. They are guilty of that no matter the outcome. These children were failed by all who knew the kind of life Lilly and Jack were living. Family, CPS, and the RCMP. We need Lilly and Jack. We need answers." End quote. Belinda, along with family members from Malaya's side of the family, reached out to the Ontario-based not-for-profit search group called Please Bring Me Home, who has been involved with a lot of these Canadian cases, who around October announced that they were sending volunteers to help recheck waterways near the property, stating that it was important to revisit creeks and lakes because they could change and fluctuate. This was also important to do before snowfall began in the area. The group planned to walk the perimeters of the waterways on November 15th. They're also going to be using Aqua Eye, which is a sonar device that helps locate people underwater. Malaya's family members, Haley Ferdinand and Cheryl Robinson, would also aid in the search. And they would say, quote, "We're hoping for answers. We want to find them. There's a lot of downed trees still. The water's high and cold, just a lot of tough terrain to track through, but we're doing it. We're hoping that the woods hold some answers that we've been searching for. We've had a lot of people slip, fall into the water. A lot of people are wet. Of course, it's cold because it's November. There's a lot of potential for injuries, a lot of steep areas, a lot of downed trees. It's been hard. We're basically looking for Lily's backpack. We're looking for boots. We're looking for clothing. We're looking for anything they may have had with them. Lily's doll. We're looking for those type of items that might stand out because her backpack is white with strawberries on it." End quote. Belinda would also be involved, being captured at the community hall and saying, quote, "I'm disappointed in the community, to be honest. It has to take a group that's not from this province that's willing to do this. I thought more people in the community would have gotten involved. I know I have their reasons, but there's a lot of private property signs now that weren't up on May 2nd, the date the children were reported missing. It's disappointing to see that. Even the ones that can't search. This is the day that search is taking place. If you have property, do your own search on your own property so that we can mark it off, to know that it's been done. I hope we can find something that tells us we're on the right path." End quote. Now, interesting, Nick Oldreeve, who runs the search group, made note that some items of interest were retrieved during the searches. However, he has not disclosed what those items are. He did state that they were able to clear a lot of area, but the problem they ran into was that the terrain was too harsh and there was a lack of cell service, meaning they had issues checking in with the different groups. Each team, however, did cover roughly 5 kilometers of the search area. But some areas of Middle River where they were searching were also unpassable. Speaking of Please Bring Me Home, they actually published a statement on behalf of Malaya in October, which is the only other statement that we've actually had from her, an only solid statement other than things that have been said in the affidavits and that original interview she did on the day the children disappeared. In this long statement posted by the group, she said, quote, "As a mother, I love my children more than life itself and feel so heartbroken not being able to hold my children, Lily and Jack, kiss them, breathe in their scent or tuck them in the bed, dress them, wake up to their sweet smiling faces. The longing I have for them to come back home with me is a greater feeling than I could ever imagine feeling or put into words how I'm feeling. There's not one single day, minute, or second that goes by that I'm not thinking about my children. I walk into a store and all I could see is things they love that I want to get them for when they come home. The candy they like, the clothes they wear, the toys they love. All I see is them. I just so desperately want them home safe and sound, back into my arms where I will never let them go. I'm truly traumatized not being able to hear the sweet sound of their voices, their laughs, when they would sing a Gabby's Dollhouse song that now only makes me cry when I hear it because all I hear is Lily and Jack singing along. not being able to breathe in their scents when I embrace them tightly. I don't want these moments to be memories. I want my babies home. My Lily Mae and Jackie. The pure pain I suffer of just not knowing where they are has impacted my life and Em and my family in the most devastating way. Life feels extremely hard to keep going. With no answers, it is just pure lostness. Like I can no longer feel at home anymore. No matter how lost I feel, I have not given up hope that my children will not be returned home to me safe and sound. I have all the faith and hope I will see them again. Please, anyone with any information, no matter how small, please come forward. Please don't be afraid to use your voice to help bring home Lily and Jack. Even the smallest details are crucial. I am so incredibly grateful and thankful for all the ongoing efforts of the RCMP, Major Crimes, Search and Rescue, and Please Bring Me Home. The RCMP Major Crime Unit and Please Bring Me Home will continue to investigate, and they need your help. You can share tips anonymously at pleasebringmehome.com or contact the RCMP directly. I will never stop searching for my children until they are found and brought home safe and sound. Someone somewhere knows something, so please bring my babies home. To the incredible volunteers, searchers, investigators, and compassionate strangers who have stood beside us, thank you. Your tireless dedication, your prayers, your time spent combing through the woods and yards, sharing photos, and refusing to give up. You, and the hope my children will be home, and my youngest daughter, are the reasons I have strength and keep going. You show me that love, kindness, and compassion still shine, even in the darkest times. Everything you've done has not gone unnoticed. Thank you, with deepest gratitude." End quote. As November is carrying through as I'm filming this video, a vigil will be held for the kids, also celebrating Jack's 5th birthday. Malaya would not attend, but Belinda, Daniel, Haley Ferdinand, and Cheryl Robinson, along with 40 other people, were in attendance.
Everything's been searched at this point, so I think everyone's just looking to, what's the alternate, what could have happened to the kids other than being in the woods. I'm just trying to keep the public informed as much as I can. And I don't know if I'm the best voice to be speaking for Lily and Jack, but I'm still going to do it anyway and for the kids.
And there's obviously been a lot of drama surrounding this case online. And honestly, I don't know what is true and what isn't at this point, which is why I'm not bringing up a lot of it. I'm not sure if any of us really do know what's true and what's not. I honestly don't even know if authorities know what is and isn't true at this point. I honestly am not taking anyone's side in this case because, as I said, there's so much drama online, whether Daniel's responsible, Malaya's responsible, someone else in the family is responsible, the children were kidnapped by family members on one side or the other, or the children did run away and were abducted. There is so much drama, and at the end of the day, I don't know who's telling the truth, so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I'm on Daniel's side, I'm on Malaya's side. At the end of the day, I'm on the children's side. I want these children to be found, and I want answers. I want answers just like the rest of us want answers. I've been following this case and covering it since the moment it happened. I actually found this case while just scrolling on Facebook, and so I made a post about it, and not long after I made my video about it, it blew up online and everyone on the internet started making videos about it. And I realized, oh, this is going to be a big thing. Maybe this will lead to the children being found fast because Canadian cases don't normally get a lot of coverage. And this case has shockingly got coverage all over North America, which is not very often that American YouTubers cover Canadian cases like this. However, at the end of the day, there's just been so much drama on this case, which is why I'm not continuously making videos on it. I wanted to make a video where is an entire timeline of all the information that's come out over the last 6 months or so. And I'm sure there is still stuff out there that I didn't include in here just because I didn't know if it was more so fact or if it was just rumor online, if it was made up. A lot of the information in this video was from affidavits that have been released and then, news reports and videos that are out there of interviews that individuals have done in the family. But at the end of the day, the authorities have pressed that there's no evidence that the children were abducted at this point, even though it's been a very popular theory amongst the family members, even from the very beginning. The day they went missing, both Daniel and Malaya said on the news in their statements that they thought maybe the children had been abducted, not that the children were running through the woods. But then when you look at all of the searches that have been done, thousands and thousands of kilometers, thousands of man hours put into this, the children have not been found in those woods, not alive or their bodies. There's also hardly been any evidence found other than the scrap of blanket and the tree. There was a sock collected. I don't know where the sock was collected from. There was the blanket in the garbage can that matched the blanket outside. And then there was Lily's boot print. There was only a few pieces of evidence in the affidavits. So is that really all the authorities have? Or have they collected more over time? Because at this point, it seems no one knows at all what may have happened to these children. Did they wander into the woods just too far and the search dogs didn't go to the specific spot or area where their bodies may be? Maybe the wind blew the wrong way, so they didn't pick up the scent. Were they abducted? Were they wandering down the road and got picked up? There's also theories that maybe the kids were given to certain family members to be kept from certain parents, but it doesn't seem like Cody was looking to take the kids, so why would, say, Malaya give the kids to her family members to hide them? It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't track for me. That's been a popular theory, though, out there. And then we have the theory that something happened to the kids during that night, possibly, because they were seen on video footage at the Dollarama or in the area of the Dollarama during the afternoon of the day before. So what happened after that? Could something have happened to the kids after that? Could something went too far with disciplining them? Were they kept home from school because there was marks and bruises on them, not because they were actually sick? That's another thing people are asking questions about. Could they have gotten into possibly maybe drugs in the home, something along those lines, and then, OD'd, so their bodies were put somewhere? But then the cadaver dogs didn't detect any scent of, human remains within the home. So what could have happened to these children? This is a case that's truly a mystery, but at the end of the day, Jack and Lilly are still missing. In the end, authorities have said that over 60 interviews have taken place, and they have around 5,000 video files regarding this case. Yet still, there is not one sign of where Jack and Lilly are. So if you have any information as to what may have happened to these two children, please contact the authorities. I'll have the information down below. And let me know what you think about this case. Let's have a conversation down below. Is there information I didn't include in this video that is factual, not just rumors that are being spread around online? Because I have read a lot of the Facebook group stuff, and one person will post something and then it'll get debunked. It was just someone assuming something and not knowing all the information, or making an assumption about something. Do you have any information that I didn't include here that you may know about that has come up? And if it is something that is factual that needs to be told to the authorities, please go do that. But is there any locals out there? Let me know if you know anything. Let's chat about it down below. At the end of the day, my heart goes out to the family, because these are two little kids that need to be brought home. Whether the circumstances, they need to be put to rest or they need to be brought home to be loved on by their families. What happened to these kids? Let's not let this become a cold case. And as always, I hope you'll stay safe out there, lock your windows and doors, and I hope to see you in the next video.